and start with question 8. Question 8 says that your patient has ordered dopamine infusion to begin at 5 micrograms per kilogram per minute. Your patient weighs 70 kilograms and the dopamine is available at 400 milligrams per 250 ml. At what rate should the nurse begin the infusion? Now, it doesn't say specifically, but you should know that we're going to most likely get into milliliters per hour for this question. Okay, so we're calculating flow rates or infusion rates. That's typically going to be in milliliters per hour. If we're talking about a drop rate, it would be drops per minute. So I'm going to answer that question accordingly. So number 8, we have a couple of pieces of information that we need to kind of break down. We have micrograms in the order, but we have milligrams in the available. So we can't do math when we have two different units. We need to be on the same page. We need to be in the same units in order to do the math correctly. So, or I should say maybe easierly, I don't know, more easier. So we have the patient weight is 70 kilograms. And we're going to multiply by the order, which is the 5 micrograms kilograms per minute. 70 times 5 is going to be 350 micrograms. Got rid of kilograms per minute. Okay. Now, additionally, you could convert. You're going to need to make a conversion here. At some point, we need to convert minutes to hours. And at some point, we need to convert micrograms to milligrams. You can actually do that all at once, or you can do it in steps. It just depends on what you feel more comfortable doing when you're setting these things up. So my recommendation, maybe in the beginning, is you could probably even just do both. Both at the same time if you want to. And so I'll show you that doing this both at the same time using dimensional analysis. So what we're going to do is I'm going to make 2 conversion factors. Okay, if you're looking at this and you hate this stuff, like the conversion stuff, don't worry, you're not alone with that. But I'm just going to show you this. You can do it in steps if you want to. I'm just going to show it to you all at once. So let's start with minutes first. I want to get rid of minutes, convert that to hours. And I want to get rid of micrograms and convert that to milligrams. Again, I'm converting to milligrams because my available is in milligrams. So I just want to have the same information or the same units before I do anything. Okay. So I'm going to take the 350 times 60 which is 21,000, and then divide by 1,000. And you're going to get 21. So I'm just going to write it down here, 21 milligrams per hour. Okay. So when I do 350 times 60 and then divide by 1,000, that's where I get the 21 milligrams per hour. Now, all I need to do is convert milligrams to milliliters. And that's where my available 400 milligrams per 250 ml comes in. So 400, 250. So I'm just going to, again, plug that into my calculator. 21 times 250 divided by 400. And then you're going to get 13.125, which I believe is how they stated your answer. But you should round this, and it should round to 13.1 milliliters per hour. So if you rounded and you got that right, you got 13.1, you did that right. It was just the key didn't account for the rounding for some reason. And I'll apologize for that, because I am likely the person who originally wrote this test up, or this practice test up. And then for some reason I didn't round it, but it should be rounded. but as a just to kind of cover your butt, just I would write both answers. I would write what the actual answer is and then show that you're rounding it to 13.1, and then that should be fine for if you get a question like this. And I know this question is time intensive, but I think you can do it. Just take your time, follow the steps. You should be okay. If I'm not mistaken, 25 is the Heparin Protocol. I know that you've seen the Heparin Protocol a couple times now, or at least you saw it in last semester. So I'm actually going to pull up last semester's practice test just because the Heparin Protocol is written out a little bit cleaner there. So as a reminder, when you're looking at the Heparin Protocol, all of this is given to you as what's considered the protocol. Okay, so it's the steps you follow to address a patient that's following the Heparin Protocol, who's on heparin. For the math part, you're just answering these questions that are way down here. I gave you practice where you have parts A and B, and then parts C1 and C2 where you can practice those. A and B or C1 and C2 will be on your test. Not all four, okay, but you'll have two questions, one bolus question and one flow rate question to answer on this test. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll work through this. I'm actually, because I know you've done this before, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a different patient weight. That way you can get like kind of like fresh eyes on it without maybe if you've already memorized the previous way this was done. So I'm just going to use a different patient weight, and then we'll just kind of see what we get with it. So I'm going to start off with a different weight. We're going to do a patient weight. Let's just make them, let's just say 154 pounds. Okay, so I'm going to divide that number by 2.2, and I'm going to get that patient's weight in kilograms. So 154 divided by 2.2 will give me 70 kg, 70 kilograms. Now, if for some reason we had like a patient's weight and it didn't end in a perfect number, you could what you would want to do is just round that number to the nearest tenth. So like, let's say this was ended up being like 70.353535. 70.4 kilograms is what you would use for solving the rest of the problem. All right, part A, again, at the bottom of the protocol says to calculate the bolus dose for this patient. So the patient weighs 70 kilograms. The protocol tells us that our initial bolus is 80 units per kilogram. Again, if I say something that you're not sure where I'm getting the information from, just unmute and stop me and I'll get you straightened out. So 70 times 80 will give me 5,600 units. Now, if the question asked how many units to bolus, we'd be done, but it says how many milliliters. So I want to go into my protocol, and in step 2 of the protocol, it tells me that there's two pieces of important information, that I have an IV available of 25,000 units of heparin in 250 milliliters, half normal saline. And then I also have a bolus dose of 1,000 units per milliliter. So since we're calculating the bolus, we're going to use the bolus information. So I don't want units, I want milliliters. Each milliliter contains 1,000 units. So we're going to get 5.6 milliliters. For part B, and that would be our initial bolus. Part B then says what would be the infusion rate to start this patient on. Same patient. And then my initial infusion rate says 18 units kilogram hour. $18 times 70 gives me 1,260 units per hour. I don't want units per hour, I want milliliters per hour. So if you recall from some of the earlier questions, I want to say questions, let's see here. 22, 23, and even 24 are questions in which you go from units per hour to milliliters per hour. So those questions, 22, 23, and 24, warm you up for the Heparin protocol. So I don't want units, I want milliliters. And I go back to the protocol. Step 2 in the protocol tells me that I have that IV of 25,000 units in 250 milliliters, half normal saline. So I'm going to use that information to tell me how to calculate my infusion rate. Now 250 over 25,000 is equal to 1 over 100. So you would get 12.6 milliliters per hour. Again, we're starting off with the patient weight now being 154 instead of the stated 110, which is why the answers are different, just to kind of give you an additional practice. Now let's throw a kink into this, and let's just say we had a different APTT. So let's say instead of 43 seconds, let's say I had an APTT of 30 seconds. Okay. So if an APTT of 30 seconds, then we would then look at the protocol and see what to do with an APTT of 30 seconds. So less than 35 seconds, we're going to rebolus, and then we're going to increase the rate of infusion by 4 units per kilogram per hour. Now, since we're rebolusing, when it says to calculate the number of milliliters per pair, this is the number of milliliters per pair for the bolus. We don't really need to do that math again, right? Because it's the same. Okay. So for C2, it would be the same, and we would just say it's 4 milliliters. So you're just going to do it again. So for this particular example that I'm working you guys through, again, on the spot, is just another example. And in this example, we don't need to do any additional math. If for the rebolus, if we were in the 43-second range or the 36 to 44-second range, we would rebolus with 40 units, and then the rest of them you don't rebolus. Okay. So in the event that on your actual test, you get just C part 1 and part 2, where it tells you the APTT and then what you do, then you just follow what's in each of these boxes, depending on what they do. And if it says to hold the heparin for 1 hour, or if it tells you to calculate the bolus, but it doesn't tell you what to do with the bolus, then you wouldn't bolus the patient. You would assume that the bolus had already occurred, and then you would just do the infusion rate. All right, so we're following with this. It tells me to increase by 4 units per hour. So same patient, right? 70 kilograms. Let's see above. Okay. Same patient, 70 kilograms. Our initial infusion rate was 18, but we increased it by 4. So now it's going to be 22 units kilogram hour. So 70 times 22 gives me 1,540 units per hour. Again, we're going to not use the bolus dosage strength. We're going to use the IV strength, which is the 250 milliliter half normal saline to 25,000 units. So 250 ml, 25,000 units. Can we set that up right? And we'll get 15.4 milliliters per hour. So I know you didn't necessarily ask for a different variation, but you can go on to YouTube and you can see that I've worked out the heparin protocol, several different reviews. I've done it in isolation, meaning it's just one video just showing you how to do the heparin protocol. And then this was just off the cuff, different patient weight, and even a different APTT, just to kind of give you something else to practice. Not that you asked for it, but you got it.